Yo people, RBKeyz here. Today we're checking out the Nacon Revolution X controller. I'm really looking forward to testing this, so we're gonna unbox it, give my first impressions and give you a little review. Let's go. Okay, let's unbox the Revolution X, shall we? As you can see, first things first, we're greeted with this Xbox Game Pass subscription. Obviously I'm not going to show you the code, but that is going to be used. We've also got the manual. I'm sure I'll refer to this at some point, but it's a control pad. How difficult could it be to set up? We've got a case here. It's not very often that you receive a control pad that comes with its own custom case. Let's have a look inside. Okay, so right here we've got the controller in its lovely camo design. It's a lot lighter than I expected it to be. It looks very, very nice though. This design is dope. Obviously in the back you can see we've got 4 back buttons, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Looking forward to testing this out. What else have we got in here? So we've got a cloth to clean our controller. I'm not 100% too sure what this is. Oh, okay. Do you know what this actually is? We're going to get into this a bit later, but this is weights. So in the back of this control pad, you can actually take off this panel here. Once again, I'll show you a bit later in the video, but you can take this off and put weights in the control pad. Aside from that, we've got some other cables here. So from the looks of it, we've got our standard USB cable. You know, one side plugs into the control pad itself and the other into your PC. So I laid it out in a more presentable fashion, but this is essentially everything that you get inside of your box with the control pad. Let's test out the product. Alright, so I'm just going to install my desired weights and then we're going to try and get a custom profile going for the control pad and play some Street Fighter 6 and see what the control pad's really like. I've decided to go with the 16-gram weighted option and we're going to see just how heavy this controller can get. So I've got the weights up inside the control pad. It actually does feel a lot better in regards to its weight for me. You know, more in line with something you'd find from the official control pads. We are now going to get the Revolution X's app installed onto the PC. So I'm going to just show you how that's done. What you got to do is head over to the Microsoft Store. We're quite literally just going to search Revolution X. As you can see, the first app that pops up is the one for the app control pad itself. Alright, so it has finished installing. Let's check out the app. Just gonna open it up here. So straight off the bat it's telling me to plug in the controller, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. You love that sound. Ooh, look at the green light. Okay, as soon as it's plugged in, you can see that it's been powered on thanks to the lights here, and the app itself has recognized that the controller is plugged in. So if we click on manage profiles, we're greeted with this screen. So it looks like we've got 4 presets and I'm sure you can customize it further if you'd like. We've got the Nacon Racing Sports, Nacon FPS, Nacon Arcade Fighting and Nacon Infiltration. Okay, so from the looks of it, these default profiles, now that I've actually looked into it, these ones can't be changed. So if I want to change anything, I really have to make my own one. So we're just going to do that. New profile, let's call it RBKeyz Fighting. Okay, so everything looks pretty straightforward. All the buttons are correct. As I said, I want to change this button to what I want it to be. There we go. As you can see, we've got the LB button there, which in Street Fighter 6 is the drive impact button. I'm just going to put it there so I can try and react a bit faster. And on the right hand side, we have got the left trigger, which is for the parries. Other than that, it looks like you can change the response curve. I'm just going to change it so it is best it can be for fighting games. which as you can see here, it says perfect for arcade and fighting games. We're also going to change the right stick to the same. I may come back in and mess with this a bit more, but right now I'm just going to go with the presets for the most part, so we'll see how really good it works. Right, so it's done now. So I think the only thing left to do is to update the controller by clicking this button. Now I guess we can load up Street Fighter 6, so I'm going to do just that. Alright, so as you can see, we're in game. Yeah, man. So far, so good. All the buttons are very responsive. Let me just move the control pad up here so you can actually see me pressing things. Buttons are mapped the way I like them. Go. Alright, so first impressions, it feels pretty good. The D-pad, I quite like it, although I suppose it's just something I'd need to get used to, but there's a bit of a raise in the controller around the D-pad itself, and I could kind of feel it while I was maneuvering the D-pad trying to do my combos and my movements. So it's just a little bit of something that I'm gonna have to get used to. In regards to the analog stick, we're gonna have to try a different game to really see. Bad aim aside, everything seems to be working as intended. So to be honest with you, I've been having a really good time with this control pad. I used it quite extensively on my streams throughout the week when I was playing Street Fighter 6. It actually helped me get to master rank with my third character, Rashid, in that game. So yeah, it's done the job. The back buttons really helped me out when I wanted to allocate it to certain actions within the game. I'd say the only downside is the D-pad for fighting games. For every other game that I played, EXO, Primal, Payday 3 and so on and so forth, the controller works really well. But for fighting games, I would prefer if the D-pad wasn't like enclosed within the control pad. It's really hard to describe, but it's raised around the D-pad. There's a raise, and it's not like that with the Pro Compact as an example. So your thumb won't be smashing against the control pad itself. Like my thumb is just on the D-pad here, whereas with the Revolution X, sometimes it does feel a bit uncomfortable, but overall it is a nice control pad. This isn't something you'd have to worry about unless you're playing a competitive fighting game like I often do. This is more of a niche problem. For every other game, it's no problem at all. But to be honest, I don't have too much more to say about it, because at the end of the day, it is just a controller and it does come down to personal preference. But as always with my reviews, I'm going to leave you with 5 pros and 5 cons, and you can do with that information what you will. Let's go. Pro number 1 would be the solid build quality and the comfortable grips on the control pad. As I said, it feels really nice in your hands to hold. It's not going to slip when you're getting real sweaty in an intense situation, and yeah, it's just really, really nice. The fact that you can add weights into the controller as well, it's just more customization, more options is always a good thing. Pro number 2, leading on from what I've just said, is the amount of customization options available with the controller. Being able to change the allocated buttons to whatever I want, being able to remap the back buttons to whatever I want, being able to change the dead zones of the analog sticks, changing the weight of the control pad itself. So much customization, really, really good. Pro number 3 would be the responsive inputs and lack of input delay in this control pad. Everything is snappy and it works just as intended. Pro number 4 would be the variety in colors that are available with this control pad. We've got a variety of colors that you can purchase this in. I've got the camo color to go alongside my Pro Compact variants, but if you're interested, you could get others. And pro number 5 is the fact that this controller comes with its own carry case. So no other controller that I'm aware of comes with something like this, and if they do, it's probably the ones on the higher end of the spectrum, the ones that cost like 150 quid or more. But it's just really cool, nice and compact. As you can see, I've got the weights here, you've got the slot for the control pad itself. At the top I've got my wire, and I can put whatever else in here because there is still a bit of extra space. Right, now we're on to the cons for the Revolution X controller. I'm not gonna lie to you, I struggled to find some cons, but as I do with all of my reviews, it has to be done. So con number one is gonna be the D-pad's raised sides. When you're playing a fighting game, you don't want that because it interferes with some of your inputs. If you're trying to do really advanced combos like I do in a lot of my fighting games, it can get in the way and make you drop them sometimes. So I'd say that's probably the only downside about the D-pad itself, because otherwise it's got a really nice feel to it. I would have loved if it was like the Pro Compact variant of the control pads, where as you can see the D-pad is raised, there's nothing to get in the way of your thumb and your actions. On number two, you might not be able to find a middle ground in regards to the perfect weight for your controller. So without the weights installed inside the back of the control pad here, it does feel incredibly light. It feels like you're holding paper, you know, but then when you do put some of the weights in, it does drastically increase in heaviness. Sometimes, like, I mean, you start to notice it over a long gaming periods. So I suppose for some people that could be seen as a bit of a con, trying to find the right weight. But for others, that's not a con at all, because you're given so much customization and so many different weight options that you can find the right one for you. Con number three for the Revolution X would be the information about the app itself. So when you're just presented with the app, you're not really given an introduction to a lot of the terminology found within. For example, they allow you to customize your triggers and your buttons, but they don't actually explain what your changes are doing to the control pad. So if you don't have knowledge on things like what a dead zone is, then you might struggle to use the app. Con number four has got to be that this is a wired control pad. Unfortunately, there are no Bluetooth or wireless options for this one in particular. Last but not least, con number five, of which I'm really searching for cons, it would have to be the location of the back buttons themselves. Now, I'm a fan of these two big ones here, but the ones on the sides, this long slim button here, I'm not too much of a fan of it, you know. I feel like the button positioning could have been a bit better. To actually press them, it feels a bit weird, those two buttons, so I find myself using these two more than the other two. So in conclusion, the Revolution X is a top tier controller in my opinion. It's definitely going to be getting used a lot in here and on stream. This is a very good option, especially at the price point. I believe right now you can get a pad for around £99 or £89, roughly around that mark. So I'll have a link to that down in the description of the video below if you're interested. Once again, big shout out to Nacon and Virtual Comms for hooking me up with this controller to showcase to you. If this video was helpful in any way, please help me by dropping a like, a comment and subscribing to the channel so I can keep making videos like this for you. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Peace.